Welcome back to the Amped 2 Own the Mountain guide. In this video we're going to Millicent, the first full level that we've already seen part of earlier. Now you see that player 1 went back to the dressing room after the look that she had in the first couple videos, and that's another thing to talk about. I like the amount of clothing options in this game. Now for you guys who played the game or are currently playing it, did you have a signature look when rocking the slopes? Did you have a signature character with a signature wardrobe? And if so, kind of what was that? I've checked the different styles. If you watch my stream, I sort of remade Zoe from SSX1 as one of my characters, and that was pretty cool. Now for snowmen, we're starting with the first drop point, Millie. The first snowman is just in front of you, and then as you ride down and you kind of get on that rightmost run, you'll ride away and there will be a snowman sort of near the end, elevated up on a rock on the left, but this one might give you some trouble if you actually try to go at it. The jump to a rail isn't super conducive because then there's a tree branch right in front of the rail that's just gonna block you, so we're gonna need a few tries to get that snowman, but luckily we're going to get a few tries. Now we're heading back to Millie, and also what I'm going to show is that this level has another of the Stomped It Landing challenges. In this you have to get 3 Stomped It Landings, and I think the left path, once you start at Millie, you can really do some quick corkscrews or rodeos and try and get some early Stomped It Landings there once you have the stats. Now ride down a bit on that left path, but cut over before the path cuts even further to the left, and the snowman will be between that and sort of that half pipe you saw. It'll be just in front of the last tree before kind of the drop off. That's a really sneaky place to hide a snowman. And so in this run, again kind of borrowing from KTWO's run, we're going to head over to the left, directly to the left, and across the dam where another snowman is waiting. That's another real sneaky snowman. Millicent has some really sneaky spots. So we're going to drop down. We're on the evergreen drop point, or at least where that one starts. We're going to head kind of to the middle, but again, we're going to cut between the main paths once we get to the middle where Evergreen and Main Street meet up, and we see the snowman in between those paths, kind of on the right side. And finally, we have one more snowman to collect during this run. He's just at the end, beside all of the ramps that you might take to fly right past him. But yeah, that was a pretty successful run. We picked up quite a few. And if you notice, I'm showing a bit more footage than normal. I'm not doing as many immediate fades just because, as I said, Millicent has some tricky spots for the snowmen now that they have the entire mountain to work with. You know, and that's another thing though. You go back to Millicent 1, that very first version of the level, and if you think about it, like all of the photo shoots take place up above where you could normally spawn in at Evergreen or Main Street. It felt obvious that they were intending that to be the full mountain version, but then realized that probably the bottom half is the best beginner level and you should start your game with something bright and sunny. What I just showed there is ride down that kind of half pipe with all the tree branches over it, and then before a big jump that you'll take as part of the Legend challenge actually, drop down the slope without jumping and you'll see a snowman there. And then once again, we gave it another shot at that snowman by trying to ride directly up to it, but again we're blocked. We have to figure out another way to make that one a bit easier, since I don't think you guys want to be hunting and doing trial and error over and over and over on just a measly snowman. So now we're at Cliff Run, where the Photo Shoot 3 and Pro 2 run are, and we're actually going to head to the right of where you drop down for both those challenges. And there's a snowman overlooking the major jump, and there's a gap that we're going to pick up later in this, again following that Pro 2 Photo Shoot 3 run. But for this last troublesome snowman, we're actually going to ride up, around, and drop down onto the path. Hey, you know, all's fair as long as you can actually get him. So we're gonna take a little bit more of a precise option and actually pick him up so we can actually get all 8 snowmen here on Millicent. Alright, so for gaps, we're going to go back up to the very top. Millie, and you saw actually a bunch of them all kind of in a row on that tree half pipe, the half pipe with the branches overlooking it. So the first one is a large jump between one opening in the branches kind of to another. We're not actually going to get it on this run, but I'm just showing off an attempt at it, because then I go and do an attempt on the next few gaps, and the next one is right afterwards. Probably intends you to land just on the rail, but as you see, you don't necessarily need to. And then the third gap, which we're going to collect second, but the third gap in the line is using that jump after that to jump, and again, you do need to grind or at least do a failed stall on the tree branch where you land. And as you see, my stats are kind of in line now. The game's actually caught up to where my higher big air and ollie stats are helping me, not hurting me. That first jump is just me figuring out the right trajectory. As you see, I need to ride up the right side sort of to get some more speed to jump on the left side, but then when I do get it, I get it pretty darn precise. So it's definitely possible to get all three of those in a row, and it's probably really cool to do so, but that first one is trickier than the next two, so you might need a couple runs like I just did. Now for the other two gaps, we're going to go to Cliff Run, and like you're going to see, the first gap, as I've mentioned, is just on the same line as the Pro 2 Photoshoot 3 challenge. You will take this big jump in the Pro 2, and then he'll set you up for this next jump, and just basically do what you normally do. I'm not going to overshoot or undershoot this. Again, with my stats, I have this basically perfect. Then you're going to drop down, ride forward, and this fifth gap is kind of an interesting transfer. I actually would recommend you slow down a bit for this. It is possible to wildly overshoot it, and then you will want, I believe, to grind or failed stall on the top of the quarter pipe. If you just jump quarter pipe to quarter pipe, I don't actually know if you'll get that or not, but that's definitely a cool idea. And it's also best to just grind the top of the quarter pipe so you don't accidentally crash. The half pipe physics in this game can be a bit wonky, and sometimes something you'd land in any other game will just crash you in this one. So yeah, that was Millicent Full, whichever you want to call it. The snowmen were in some tricky spots. They're kind of hiding from you a bit more in this version of the level. But then, as I said, the gaps were pretty good for the stats I had. Some endgame big air and ollie. So yeah, next time we'll head to Bear Mountain Full. We're getting real close to the end of the game here, so I'll see you next time on the Own the Mountain Guide.